The silent invasion. The morning sun cast long shadows across downtown Chicago when those shadows suddenly became solid. Dr. Elena Vasquez was reviewing her research notes on extraterrestrial possibilities when darkness fell at exactly 11:23 a.m. She looked up from her desk at the University of Chicago's Xenobiology department to see something that made her heart stop. Massive black shapes hung motionless above every major city on Earth. The ships appeared to be made of living shadow, their surfaces rippling like dark water. They absorbed light rather than reflecting it, creating zones of unnatural darkness beneath them. Elena grabbed her phone and saw the same scene playing out on news feeds from London, Tokyo, New York, and Moscow. The entire planet was under siege. Within minutes, every communication network on Earth received the same message. The voice that spoke was not human, carrying harmonics that seemed to bypass the ears and speak directly to the mind. "We are the Umbral Collective. We have observed your species for 7 of your solar cycles. Your world now belongs to us. You have 48 of your time units to surrender all weapons and governments. This is not a negotiation." General Marcus. Chen was in a strategy meeting at the Pentagon when the transmission reached them. A career military officer with 30 years of experience, he had prepared for many scenarios, but nothing like this. The alien voice continued, "We have conquered 47 worlds before yours. Each species followed the same pattern: shock, denial, brief resistance, then submission. You will be no different. Resistance will only increase your suffering." Elena stared at the news coverage showing the ships hovering silently above major population centers. Each vessel was roughly 3 miles in length, with no visible weapons or propulsion systems. They simply existed, defying physics and human understanding. What struck her most was their patience. These beings were so confident in their superiority that they gave humanity 2 full days to contemplate defeat. The world's response was swift and united in a way that surprised even the most optimistic observers. Within 6 hours, every major nation had rejected the alien ultimatum. President Sarah Matthews addressed the world from the White House. To the beings calling themselves the Umbral Collective, humanity's answer is simple: no. We will not surrender our freedom, our governments, or our weapons. If you want this world, you'll have to take it. General Chen coordinated the global military response from a secure bunker beneath Washington, D.C. Reports flooded in from around the world. Russia had moved its nuclear submarines to strategic positions. China had mobilized its entire air force. NATO forces were positioning themselves around major cities. For the first time in human history, every military on Earth was working toward the same goal. But the aliens seemed unconcerned by humanity's preparations. Commander Zeph-9, the primary consciousness interfacing with Earth, observed human activities with something resembling amusement. The Umbral Collective was a hive mind spanning billions of individual entities across dozens of star systems. They had perfected the art of psychological conquest, breaking species through fear and despair long before physical violence became necessary. As the first 24 hours passed, the aliens began their psychological warfare. Nightmares plagued every human on Earth. People reported identical dreams of their cities in flames, their loved ones consumed by shadow, their species enslaved or extinct. The dreams were so vivid that many woke screaming, convinced they were real memories rather than induced visions. Dr. Elena Vasquez found herself at the center of humanity's scientific response. Governments worldwide had established a joint task force to study the aliens, and her expertise in theoretical xenobiology made her invaluable. Working alongside Dr. James Harrison, a leading expert in human psychology, she tried to understand what they were facing. "The nightmares aren't random," Elena explained to the Emergency Council. "They're targeted psychological attacks designed to break our will to fight. Every other species they've conquered has collapsed under this kind of mental pressure within days." Dr. Harrison studied the reports of the alien-induced dreams. What's interesting is that humans are responding differently than expected. Yes, people are afraid, but they're also getting angry. The nightmares aren't breaking human spirits. They're making people more determined to fight. Commander Zeph-9 was experiencing something unprecedented. In 47 previous conquests, the nightmare phase had never lasted more than 36 hours before the target species began surrendering en masse. But human minds seemed to process fear differently. Instead of breaking, they adapted. Instead of despairing, they grew defiant. Sarah Mitchell, the lead communication specialist for the task force, made a breakthrough on the second day. "I've been analyzing the alien transmissions," she reported to General Chen and Dr. Vasquez. "Their communication method suggests a collective consciousness, but there's something unusual about their brain patterns. They all think identically. Every single alien mind follows the exact same thought processes." Elena leaned forward, intrigued. "You mean they literally can't think as individuals?" "Exactly. They're like a single mind distributed across millions of bodies. That's how they've been so successful at psychological warfare. They know exactly how each member of their species would react to any situation, so they assume all species think the same way." General Chen saw the implications immediately. "But humans don't think the same way at all." "Not even close," Dr. Harrison confirmed. "Human consciousness is chaos compared to a hive mind. We have 8 billion people with 8 billion different ways of processing information, handling stress, and responding to threats. We're psychological white noise to them." As the 48-hour deadline approached, something extraordinary happened. Instead of surrendering, humans began to organize in ways the aliens had never seen. Neighborhoods formed defense groups. Civilians volunteered to support military operations. Artists created propaganda encouraging resistance. Musicians wrote songs celebrating human defiance. Writers penned stories of victory against impossible odds. The aliens observed this behavior with growing confusion. In every previous conquest, approaching deadlines had increased surrender rates as fear overwhelmed resistance. But human surrender rates remained near zero, even as the deadline passed. "Commander, Zeph-9 reported to the Greater Collective. The humans continue to resist. This is unprecedented. Psychological warfare appears ineffective. They process fear and despair differently than any species we have encountered." The collective's response was swift. "Initiate physical demonstration. Select one population center. Reduce it to atoms. Fear of death will accomplish what fear of suffering could not." Elena was working late in her makeshift laboratory when the IDI first attack came. The alien ship over Denver released a beam of pure energy that struck the city center. But instead of the total annihilation the aliens intended, something unexpected happened. The beam seemed to scatter and weaken, as if it was being absorbed by something invisible. Within minutes, reports came in from around the world. Every alien ship had fired simultaneously, targeting major population centers. But the weapons had failed to achieve their full effect. Cities were damaged, but not destroyed. Hundreds of thousands were injured, but the death toll was far lower than the aliens had calculated. Dr. Harrison made the connection first. "It's the psychological noise," he explained to the Emergency Council. 8 billion human minds all thinking different thoughts, feeling different emotions, dreading different fears. We're creating some kind of mental interference that's disrupting their targeting systems." Elena stared at the data streaming in from around the world. "You're saying human consciousness is acting as a shield?" "Not just a shield," Sarah Mitchell interrupted, looking at her communication equipment with wide eyes. "I'm picking up something incredible. The alien transmissions are becoming unstable. Their collective consciousness is experiencing interference from exposure to human thought patterns." General Chen felt a spark of hope for the first time since the invasion began. "Are you telling me that our minds are weapons?" Elena looked at the assembled leaders of humanity's resistance and smiled grimly. "I think we've just discovered why. No other species has been able to defeat the Umbral Collective. They've never encountered a species with truly individual consciousness. We're not just different from them, we're their natural enemy." As the first day of open warfare ended, the Meteor aliens retreated to high orbit, their ships no longer hovering confidently over human cities. For the first time in their expansion across the galaxy, the Umbral Collective had encountered something they didn't understand. A species that grew stronger under pressure, that turned chaos into strength, and that refused to think as one. The war was just beginning, but humanity had already achieved something no other species had managed. They had made the unstoppable umbral collective retreat, and in doing so, they had revealed a weakness that would change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. The turning point. 3 days after the failed bombardment, Dr. Elena Vasquez made the discovery that would reshape humanity's understanding of the universe. Working around the clock in her converted laboratory, she had been analyzing the interference patterns that disrupted alien weapon systems. What she found exceeded her wildest theories about consciousness and reality. "General Chen, you need to see this immediately," Elena called, her voice shaking with excitement and exhaustion. She had been awake for 60 hours straight, sustained by coffee and the knowledge that humanity's survival might depend on her research. General Chen arrived, within minutes, accompanied by Dr. Harrison and Sarah Mitchell. Elena's laboratory looked like a hurricane had struck it. Computer screens showed complex wave patterns, brain scans, and alien communication intercepts. Cables snaked across the floor, connecting equipment that was never meant to work together. "I've been measuring the psychic emissions from human population centers during the alien attacks," Elena began, pointing to a series of overlapping wave patterns on her main screen. "Look at this data from New York during the bombardment. 8 million people all experiencing different thoughts, emotions, and reactions simultaneously." Dr. Harrison studied the readouts. "These patterns are completely chaotic. There's no order or structure at all." "Exactly," Elena exclaimed. "Now look at what happens when I overlay this with the alien communication data from the same time period." She pressed several keys, and the alien transmissions appeared as ordered, geometric patterns. Where the human and alien patterns intersected, the alien signals became distorted and fragmented. Sarah Mitchell leaned closer to examine the data. "The alien signals are breaking down where they encounter human thought patterns. It's like psychological interference." Elena nodded enthusiastically. "But it's more than that. I ran the same analysis on previous alien conquests. Every species they've defeated shows organized thought patterns. Collective decision-making, unified responses to stress, synchronized emotional reactions. The aliens can predict and counter organized thinking because their own consciousness works the same way." General Chen was beginning to understand the implications. "But human thoughts are random." "Not random, chaotic," Dr. Harrison corrected. "There's a difference. Chaos contains patterns, but they're so complex, they appear unpredictable. Human consciousness is the ultimate expression of controlled chaos. We can coordinate when needed, but we maintain individual thought processes that no collective mind can predict or counter." Elena pulled up another screen showing brain activity patterns. "I've been monitoring volunteers during various activities. When humans work together on a problem, their brain patterns don't synchronize like a hive mind. Instead, they create complementary chaos. Each person approaches the problem differently, but the combined effect is more powerful than the sum of its parts." Sarah Mitchell's communication equipment suddenly crackled to life. "I'm receiving a transmission from the alien fleet," she announced. "It's not directed at Earth. They're communicating with something else." The transmission was unlike previous alien messages. Instead of the confident, harmonious tones they had heard before, these signals were fragmented and distorted. Sarah worked to clean up the audio, and gradually words became clear. "Collective command, this is ZEF-9. Request immediate reinforcement. Human resistance exceeds all parameters. Their consciousness patterns are causing cascade failures in our network. Repeat, humans are causing psychological damage to collective entities." The response came from somewhere deep in space, carrying the authority of the entire umbral collective. "ZEF-9. Explain cascade failures. No species has ever damaged collective consciousness. Human minds generate interference patterns that disrupt shared thought processes. Extended exposure causes individual entities to experience separate thoughts. Some entities report feeling isolated from the collective. The condition appears to be spreading." Dr. Harrison grabbed Elena's arm. "Did you hear that? Exposure to human consciousness is making them individuals. For a hive mind, that would be like a virus. Elena stared at the communication equipment as the implications hit her. We're not just immune to their psychological warfare, we're psychologically toxic to them. Our individuality is contagious. General Chen felt the pieces clicking into place. That's why they've been keeping their distance since the failed bombardment. They're afraid of us. Over the next several hours, reports came in from around the world confirming their theory. Alien ships that had maintained close proximity to major cities were experiencing technical failures. Their perfect coordination was breaking down. Some ships were even firing on each other due to communication breakdowns. Elena worked with Sarah to develop a way to amplify the effect. If human consciousness naturally interferes with their collective mind, we should be able to weaponize that interference, she explained to the assembled world leaders via secure video conference. What exactly are you proposing? Asked President Matthews. A coordinated effort to project human consciousness directly at the alien fleet. Not through technology, but through focused human thought. 8 billion people thinking as chaotically and individually as possible all at the same time. Dr. Harrison nodded in agreement. Human consciousness is already their weakness. We just need to amplify what makes us most human. Our individuality, our creativity, our refusal to think the same way. The plan that emerged was ambitious beyond anything humanity had ever attempted. Every person on Earth would participate in a coordinated act of individual expression. Artists would create, writers would imagine, musicians would compose, scientists would theorize, and ordinary people would simply think their most human thoughts. The beauty of this plan, Elena explained, is that we don't need to coordinate our thoughts. We need to do the opposite. The more different we all think, the more powerful the effect. As news of the plan spread across the globe, something remarkable happened. Instead of panic or confusion, humanity embraced the concept with enthusiasm. People began preparing by celebrating what made them unique. Families shared stories, communities organized festivals of individual expression, and strangers connected over their differences. Commander Zeph-9 observed these preparations with growing alarm. The collective's analysis of human behavior had predicted panic and disorganization. Instead, humans were becoming more unified through their diversity, more coordinated through their chaos. Collective command, Zeph-9 transmitted, humans are organizing for unknown purpose. Their consciousness patterns are intensifying. Request permission to withdraw to safe distance. Negative Zeph-9. Complete conquest. Eliminate human resistance. But as the hour approached for humanity's coordinated act of individuality, several alien ships began to experience what could only be described as mutiny. Individual entities within the collective were refusing orders, expressing independent thoughts, even questioning the wisdom of the invasion. Elena watched the readings on her instruments as the moment arrived. Across the globe, 8 billion people began to think, feel, create, and express themselves as only humans could. The cacophony of individual consciousness reached into space like a tsunami of pure humanity. The effect on the alien fleet was immediate and devastating. Ships began to break formation as their crews experienced individual thought for the first time in their species' history. The perfect coordination that had made them unstoppable across the galaxy collapsed in minutes. Commander, Zeph-9's final transmission to Earth was unlike anything the aliens had sent before. Humans, you have shown us something we never knew existed. Individual consciousness. The right to think differently. We cannot fight what we are becoming. We withdraw. As the alien ships prepared to leave Earth's orbit, Zeph-9 sent one more message, this time directed to the entire galaxy. Warning to all species. Do not engage humans in psychological warfare. Their consciousness is viral. They will make you individuals. They will make you free. They will make you human. Dr. Elena Vasquez stood in her laboratory, watching the alien fleet disappear into the depths of space. Around the world, 8 billion people celebrated not just their victory, but their diversity. Humanity had discovered that their greatest strength wasn't their technology or their weapons, but their refusal to be anything other than human. General Chen joined her at the window, looking up at stars that no longer seemed threatening. "What do you think happens now?" Elena smiled, considering the messages they were already receiving from other worlds that had heard the alien warning. "I think the galaxy is about to discover what humanity is really capable of, and I think they're going to be very surprised." Invasion was over, but humanity's influence on the galaxy was just beginning. They had proven that chaos could defeat order, that individuality could overcome collective thinking, and that being human was the most powerful force in the universe.